Great morning, holy brothers! Thank you very much for joining us on our pathway to peace. Inside the Garden of Peace. If you're following along, we're on page 38. And today's lesson is called Roundabout Remarks. Here we go. The principle that comments are the opposite of honor is seated within religious law itself. We talked about last time, if you want to honor your wife, you do that by not making comments, by not making remarks to her. One is not allowed to make even remarks. We're talking about comments, not criticisms, not saying you're a loser, you're a moron, you're an idiot, you did something wrong. However could you have even thought to have that havamina in your head in the first place? But these remarks that we're talking about are not just to one's wife. This guy asked me today, is it just about a husband and a wife, this whole book? And the answer is yes, but there are many times that we cross over to many other aspects of Judaism, about thought process, about how you're supposed to relate to other people too, and to Hashem. But the remarks, comments, are even for a parent, especially who you're supposed to have kibbud av v'aim. It's one of the 10 commandments on the luchos. And for a rabbi, somebody you're supposed to honor, those people, it is a breach of their honor. Your parents even, you hear? You cannot make a remark to your parents, meaning you can't comment on something that they did if there's somehow a way that they can take it, that they think it was an insult to them. You have to be so careful and critical of yourself, how you put your remarks out to your parents, because that is completely not allowed. It is a violation of a biblical commandment, one of the top 10. You hear that? Crazy. Even if a son sees a father committing an outright transgression, a prohibition, he's not allowed to comment or criticize to his father and say, hey, Tati, what are you doing? Don't you know that's not allowed? Don't you know that is prohibited according to the Torah? For a parent, the way you're supposed to address it is by doing in a roundabout manner. So that means if you open up a Shulchan Aruch and you say, hey, Tati, I'd love to learn with you today. Do you have any time to learn with me? He's like, wow, sure. And you open up and says, hey, you're not allowed to pick out the bad cherries from the fruit bowl on Shabbos. You only allowed to take the good from the bad and so you're taking the bad from the good. And hopefully he'll realize, like, oh my gosh, I've been doing something wrong. But it's not like the son saying, hey, and if you're smarter, you'll start with the law before it, and then just get up to that later in it. So it's not showing him exactly that's the one that you're messing up about. You hear? That's how you have to address a parent. Whether or not the father understands the hint by you showing him in the middle of a paragraph of something that he did wrong, that's not your responsibility. That's not your concern. It's a way you can show him, but if he doesn't pick it up, you can't say, hey, dum-dum, don't you realize what I'm trying to tell you here? In a way that I'm not trying to embarrass you. You can only do it on that level and hope that he picks up the hint by himself. That's the most you can do for a parent. Later, but for a wife, you can't even do that. You can't even, it's a much even higher level. We're saying even on a low level for a parent or a rabbi, you got to be super careful with your words. Later, we're going to learn alternate ways how to influence. But comments and criticisms this is not the way. You know, in The Mandalorian, they say, this is the way. This is not the way for it to go about. A wife's honor is even more super crazy sensitive than a father or a rabbi. You have to understand that women are a little more emotional than your parents. A little more emotional than your rabbi. So if that's the level you have to act for your rabbi and parents, al achas kama v'kama kal v'chomer, how much more so do you need to act when it's your wife? We are allowed to hint to a father, to show him, look in this book at something we can learn together. But for a wife, you're not even allowed to hint to her. You can't even open up a book and say, hey, let's learn together. It's not even allowed on that level to hint to something to your wife. Do not be super smart. Don't try to be high and mighty on your horse, or try to find a loophole, or try to find an excuse about how and why you might be able to say something to your wife or to answer her back.
Sorry, excuse me.
Go ahead.
But based on what the rabbi said.
Which rabbi?
Rabbi Rabin.
Okay.
Let's say,
outside source. Go ahead.
Okay, but let's say on Tarat HaMishpacha and stuff like that, it would be better to, let's say, sit with your wife and learn that topic for the couple both to do together. Not, let's say, the teacher, go be a Hasidit or something, but like some subjects are important to learn with her, because if you're not going to learn or Tarat HaMishpacha, what's one?
Okay, so we're talking about, here's a scenario where somebody did something wrong, right? Somebody did something wrong. So are you allowed to say to her, hey, wife, you messed up? Are you allowed to say that? No, clearly not. Are you allowed, if she did something wrong, you're allowed to open up a book to show her what she's doing wrong?
No.
No, not allowed. However, if you want to learn with your wife and go over halachas, just stop so you guys can learn together, 100% great. You're not doing it with the intention to show her she did something wrong. Of course, if you want to learn together, learn the parsha together, learn Tarat HaMishpacha together, great, no problem. It's wonderful. But if she did something wrong and you're trying to open up to page 67 and say, hey, look, honey, you're being an idiot, look what you're doing wrong, that is completely not allowed, because you're not even allowed to hint to her she did something wrong. But if she didn't do something wrong in the first place, wonderful. Why not? Beautiful. That's a great thing. Got it?
Yeah.
Recognize your goal, set your boundaries, and do not break your lawful limits when it comes to this area. Chap? We're on the same page?
Chap.
The first foundation. Many husbands come to me and Rabbi Shalom Arush with their marital issues. They have a long list of complaints about their wife. They say, hey, she doesn't wake up early in the morning. I've had this with a guy who is so frustrated that his wife sleeps till 11 o'clock every morning. She's a lazy bum. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't take care of the kids in the morning. She's a good-for-nothing piece of garbage. This is what they say. They can't understand why their wives are acting so ridiculously. I don't understand. I work out every day, but my wife is getting so fat. She's not understanding the value of health. Why is she being like this? Why can't she understand it's important to me? Why can't she understand it's important for herself, for her own health? Not to be a top model, going on to these magazines, but just to have a little seichel so she doesn't ruin her life and destroy her body. So, we listen to what people have to say about their wives, but then tell them they do not have marital peace, or there is something wrong and dysfunction because they're bringing something into their lives that their wives are being affected by, because something is not right. There may be some way that they're talking to them. There may be some way that they're acting to them. There may be some way that they're criticizing or even hinting to them that is drawing some negative energy into their household that is deeply affecting them. There is never a case that has come before us that a husband admitted to the mistakes of commenting or criticizing and made a firm, solid, resolute resolution to change, that has never, 0 out of 100 times, seen a dramatic improvement in his marriage and in her life itself. So many times, women come and complain about their husbands with such a long list of grievances. Not that the husband's coming saying what's wrong with her, but she comes and says, why is my husband such a piece of garbage to me? Why is he so negative to me? Why is he so confrontational to me? And most of the time, the wife does not know how to put a finger and to point to the source of her anguish. She cannot say, this is the exact problem that I have with him. It's like a general aura of uncomfortableness that a woman has, that is something wrong with her husband because her husband's commenting and criticizing to her, but she can't realize that, he's saying something not nice to me, and that's why I'm upset. You just have this feeling. But you have to understand where it's stemming from, where it's coming from, why she's going to be feeling and acting that way. Husband complain all the time. You hear this every day. You hear it on comedy rolls on Instagram, on TikTok, and Facebook. But you hear it in real life when people are joking around with each other. But all the time is that women are making mountains out of molehills. They're ridiculously illogical. They're supremely super sensitive. And they're blowing things out of proportion. Yes or no?
Yes.
Unbelievable. They're like, why can't they just be a little more logical? Have a little more rational in their thinking. They're a person too. If I talk to them, they should be able to understand where I'm coming from and listen to me. Why can't they just listen to something I have to say? Why do they have to listen to her all the time? They tell me their wives are always complaining about the stupidest, smallest, most minuscule problems. And the truth is that when she's broken, or when she's sad, or when she's upset, or hurt by her husband's constant comments and criticisms, every tiny thing that happens is going to upset her. It's going to make her so mad. It's going to make her want to explode at what's going on. When he criticizes her, she cannot understand what he is saying. It's like going in her ear and coming straight out the other side of her head. He's trying to be logical, and what he's saying to her is like a foreign language. It's like speaking Chinese or Mandarin or Hebrew, or somebody doesn't even understand the language. That's what's coming at her, and she can't interpret it. Her brain literally is not functioning on the same wavelength that he is saying to her. And it's going to upset her. It's going to make her mad. And then everything that happens is going to be blown up in a volcano because of it. When he criticizes her, she cannot understand. She cannot be considerate of him in any way possible. She's going to become argumentative. She's going to become hostile. She's going to be displeased with every single thing he does because he's brought this kind of energy into the house. Because he's trying to give her something that it is not for her to accept. It's not for her to listen to him when he's complaining about how she's acting. Because he is completely undermining the marriage of what he's supposed to be learning, and he's trying to give it back to her, but she's not supposed to be the one taking it. So what are you dishing out? All that's going to happen, all that garbage that you're putting out to her, is going to come smack you right in the face. It's like you ever go on these, what are those rides, the Gravitron that spin around in the amusement parks? So the centripetal force pushes you up against the wall, like you try to put your arm out and like you fly backwards. You know those things?
The rotor, yep.
Yeah. So if you try to spit on one of those rides, you know what's going to happen? It's not going to go across to the other person. It comes straight back into your face. It comes right back at you. That is exactly what's happening with your wife. You try to spit out a comment, it's going to go all over your face. You're going to be the one who's going to be hurt by it. You're going to be the one who's going to be a big mess because it's something that you tried to put out into the ether that's going to be the problem that you're creating for yourself. It is really only a question of your mind. Why is she this way? Wake up and take responsibility for your life.
For what?
For everything that you're putting out. Don't ask, why is the spit flying back in my face when you're the one who spit it out in the first place? You want to understand why she's upset? You want to understand why she's not acting appropriately? Take responsibility for the peace in the home on your shoulders. Why are we blaming other people for the environment that we are literally creating in front of us? The world that we create is the world in which we are going to live. You have a question? Huh? I have a puzzled look on your face. What's the thought?
Later.
Tell me right now.
After the recording.
After the class. Got it? So if you want to have a peaceful home, don't ask her why you're not being peaceful. You want to have no arguments? Stop causing the arguments in the first place. Understand that you're here to support her and learn from her and do what you can, but women are not designed for that purpose. That is not what they're here for. And any little thing that you're going to say to her, you might not know it now, you might not know it tomorrow, it might not be next week, but whatever you're putting out, she's going to be upset about other things because of the way she feels on the comments that we make to her in the first place. Recognize, realize, and keep that on the forefront of your mind and what you want to create for your home. And with that, have a pleasant, awesome, deliciously amazing rest of your day.